everybody. I thought it was important to do a quick update on these rather than wait until however many weeks or months go by until I do another general update. Yeah, there's some recent reviews on these that didn't go so well. This one went well, but there's a warning I have to give you about this, or at least some advice to give you as to not break the clicker dome that's on this one. But I do want to give you a recap on that and these guys, so please stick around. So let's start with the coin from Metal Toys DZ, the top C coin. And when I reviewed this, I had a problem with my first impressions, of course, because there's an O-ring, a rubber O-ring that goes between this back screw and the front plate holds everything together. And the one I got was broken because this was over tightened. In fact, it was tightened down so tight that it took it a lot of work to get it apart. And that's when I discovered that the O-ring was broken, and was very disappointed that they didn't include any extras. So I had to spend about 15 bucks and then wait another 2 weeks, which isn't bad. 2 weeks isn't too bad. But unfortunately, I had to wait that long to get a little baggie with 5 or 6 rubber O-rings in it for about 15 bucks. Anyhow, like I said, I tried to be optimistic on the review video because I was confident that once I got that ring in, that it would work properly, and it does, in fact, work really, really well. Very happy with this. So I'll do another review on this. Just want to let you know, it is a winner. I'm just, the other disappointment I had, of course, was I thought I was getting a stone washed or a satin blasted finish, because that's how it appeared in the photos. Now, I didn't read close enough to see it. Didn't say blasted anywhere, but I assumed it was. So I was a little disappointed in that. It is supposed to be stainless steel, I'm sure it is, but it's got like a PVD coating on it. So it's shiny and it looks slippery. It's not too terribly slippery, at least it doesn't seem so. It's going to be tough to tell till wintertime. Wintertime around here, your skin gets pretty dry. Things like this can be a problem, so we'll see. And as far as I could tell, Salmanov, I can't remember his first name exactly, but over on Daily Dose of Fidgets, he just did a review. He's a fanatic about these things, and his review title was, I'll put a link to it in the comments there, but it was Top C coins. I bought them all, so you don't have to. So he's bought them all, different kinds, and there's a fancier version of this called the Spark. I think he's got all those too. But I'll link to that so you can get a really detailed review. And I think the only one that you can get that is a blasted finish is zirconium out of the whole bunch. But I'm tempted because the hype about this one is all true. It's very good, very good. And I've got the ZZ plate in there. But yeah, that's enough for that one. Now this one is definitely a winner. I had to settle for this one, which isn't, I didn't settle for it. I was quite happy with it. While this one was waiting for the O-ring to come in, luckily I had this one to keep me occupied, and I couldn't be more happier than with this one. This is the AC EDC mechanical milk cap version 2, I believe we're calling it. And it's got this nice feature in the middle, a round bearing button with a clicky dome underneath. But what I wanted to tell you was a very specific instruction about how to put this thing together and take it apart so that you don't ruin that clicky button. I've watched a couple reviews where they took it apart and they were putting it back together again, and suddenly it didn't work anymore, and they stumbled on it. And I don't remember who it was exactly, but I thought maybe it happened to more than one person. They put it back together again, they couldn't get that to work. And I thought, well, they must just have the clicky dome upside down or something like that. And maybe that was the case, but here it happened to me over the last week, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. I took it out. It was like it was in right, but right off the bat, I noticed a bend mark in it. And I should have kept it to show you, but we'll take it apart here. And, oh, my fingers are just a little bit moist. Here, give me 1 second. Boy, that was a tough nut to crack. I'll have to be careful not to do that again. So just to unscrew it, you want to, hold the front and apply pressure to the back. This whole part comes loose once you start to screw it. What I recommend is use your fingers to hold these two sides together, because they're going to want to come apart. They're not going to fly apart, but they're going to want to come apart as you unscrew this. So like I said, once you get that cracked loose, hold it together with your fingers, and then you can take this out all the way. But now this is taking it out. See, just taking it out, we disturbed. Let's see if we make sure this is in focus. Whoops, no, I dropped it anyhow. But in taking it out, we sort of disturbed the location of this thing. And putting it back in, we have to be careful. This is my instruction for you. Let's say that you just got done moving your balls around there. Oh, there, I lifted it apart upside down, and I dumped everything unintentionally. So we'll have to put these back in anyhow. And I have had it, there's 20, I don't want to re-review this, but there's 20 detents on here, and depending on how you have this set up, you can either have 20 clicks or 40 clicks, and you can use more or fewer springs and balls to increase the tension or the resistance. But this is actually going to bring me back to 20. I had it lined up over here and here, and that would give you 40 clicks. But if they're off diagonally from each other, you'll get 20. So now this is how we want to do it. Lay the cap down, put your dome down in here, and make sure that the dome is arched this way. Take ball, drop the ball in there. You don't have to worry about getting it to balance on that little, you can get it to balance on that little part, but that's not important. Just keep it on there in the middle. Now we can put this on your fingers, drop this down directly onto it, take the lid. Now it's important that you don't drop your balls like I just did. It's important that the part that spins around is the only part you're resting it on. So it's sort of, my two fingers are just sitting on that little button here that we're looking at the back side of. And now I'm going to take the cap and bring it down and just get it as close to center with that ball as possible. And get the threads started. You'll feel it start to screw in. And as soon as you start to feel or hear, you'll hear now, as I screwed it down, let me get it in focus. You'll hear it start to hit the balls there. That's when you want to stop and push everything together. Don't flip it over. Don't flip it over. Finish screwing the back in as far as you can with your fingers. Okay, now finish tightening it in. That's all you need to do is snug it down. It doesn't seem to come loose. I tightened it up too much before. But now the important thing was to keep this in this orientation the whole time that I was screwing it back together. Because if you flip it over at any point in time while it's loose, that little clicky button on the inside of there comes loose, slips up along the side. I'm going to take it apart again and show you. Okay, follow my own instructions here. Hold it again, hold the two pieces together. It doesn't matter when you're taking it apart. It's when you're putting it together that you want to have it flipped over the other way. So now we can take that out, and get back to where we started. What I wanted to show you again was the fact that there's so much space around this ball that whenever it's loose, when you're hanging it, when you're in midair here, trying to put everything back together, and it's loose and it's not quite screwed down the whole way, if you flip this whole thing over, the whole thing, it's loose enough that the dome, the clicky dome in there can sort of slip off to the side. And then it's cocked in there sideways and you don't realize it. And you keep tightening this down slowly and screwing it down. And that's what I believe I did to mine. What I ended up doing was bending the clicky dome in half. I put a crease right down the middle of it. And I think that's what happened. So there's your warning. So I'm going to put it back together again. Once again, you put the clicky dome in, convex side facing up, drop the ball in there, keep it resting on just your 2 fingers. Oop, there I flipped it over, darn it. So you want it to keep resting on these 2 fingers and not really let this part of the body rest on your fingers because it will interfere. So take this again, bring it down, get the threads lined up, get it started, start spinning it. As soon as I start to feel contact with the springs and balls on the inside, that's when I squeeze the whole thing together and then finish tightening it up on the bottom, being careful not to flip it over at any point in time until it's been all screwed together. And that's it. That'll keep you from ruining your little clicker dome. Now we're back to these 2. So I just recently did a video on this that ended up having to be an advisory. I usually just say things are an advisory when there's a problem. It doesn't necessarily mean it's ruined, or like I said, I did go ahead and release the video because there was a lot of good information in there about how this one can be taken apart and put back together again, and how it's supposed to work and how you can modify it. My problem is it has 2 screws. There were no extras. And unfortunately, this screw is stripped. And what I discovered was during manufacturing, there's 2 plates here, the back plate and the front plate. The front plate has through holes, and the screws have to pass through those through holes without interference in order to get to the threaded holes on this side. What I discovered was they did not drill out their through holes on this plate to a large enough diameter for the screws to pass through. It was just undersized enough that when they forced the screws through, this one managed to keep a couple threads. This one had almost all of its threads stripped. I didn't even notice it until the very end of the the very end of the review, and had to go back and turn the review into an advisory. So the story behind this now is I have contacted the vendor, and we'll see. You know what? Let me stop right here and show you the pictures that I sent to the supplier. So those pictures were pretty plain as could be. The close-up picture was actually through a microscope at work. I just held the phone up to it and got a rough shot, but you could see there that the one screw was pretty bad and the other one was really bad, and it's just hanging in there literally by a thread, I guess. But it works enough for me to tell you that if it wasn't for those damn screws, I'd say this is a very interesting piece. So, if you're willing, now I have a drill press and I have experience and I have tools to measure things, but it doesn't take much more than a drill, a hand drill, and a small drill set so that you can sort of gauge it yourself, and just enlarge the through holes that are on this plate until the screw passes through. The problem is, if you buy one of these now, it'll probably come with 2 damaged screws. Who knows if and when Gal Studios is ever going to correct that problem. Would they ever even see my video, or who knows? So in the meantime, I researched and found out exactly what screw sizes these are, and I have these are either Torx or Allen. I can't tell you. They're Torx, I could see now, but I found some cheap ones actually on Amazon. I ordered they're not Torx or Allen head, they're just Phillips head. but they're the correct size and length and everything. And I'm going to put that, just in case you're curious, I'll put that across this top here. It's their M2, and it's a coarse thread, and that's designated by a 0.4. So it's an M2 with a 0.4 coarse thread. The screw length is 6 millimeters, and the head diameter is, what was it? Darn it. The head thickness is 2, and the head diameter, I believe, was 3. We'll just go with that. I'll correct it if I'm wrong. But yeah, these are common size socket head cap screws, and you can get them in black and stainless steel or shiny stainless steel, or like I said, I found a cheap set of Phillips head, like a pack of 10 or something for $3 or $4 on Amazon. So that's going to get me through until I see if this company's going to send me my stuff back, or send me new screws. But I can tell you right off the bat, I'll let you know how it goes in the end, but right off the bat, I gave them a very detailed description of what my problem was, and I showed them those photos, and I just said, hey, I just need 2 screws. If you give me 2 screws, we can forget all about this. I won't try to get a refund. But if they're not going to give me the screws, I'm going to try to get money back on this. At first I'll say, this is another thing I should do a video on, maybe, is negotiation tactics on AliExpress. I've done it so many times. But I will ask them, I'll say, hey, I want to send this back. If you're not going to fix it, I want to send it back. And that's where the seller will have an issue, because that's the point where it'll cost them even more money, and they don't want to try to send it back. In fact, I'm not sure most of them have a plan for that, because they always either give in and give you part of your money back, or if they're obviously wrong, like they send you the wrong thing, like when they sent me the top, that one shop, doesn't matter who it was, they corrected their problem, but instead of sending me a top C, they sent me a top D, which I already had a couple of those, which was nice, because I got it for free then. And I gave it away for free. But yeah. So I am waiting for a response from them. I wrote to them today and said, please look at the photos I just sent you. I need 2 extra screws. The screws I have are stripped. So we'll see what they do. Anyhow, like I said, it's turning out to be kind of a nice thing. I like the fact that I have the spring and the stops in there, because I am pushing it from back here with my thumb, and it is a little difficult to push. And if you push real hard, if that was a dead stop, if I was just coming to a dead stop without a little bit of a spring action to absorb the impact, I think your thumb would get really sore really quick. So the fact that that spring is there as a sort of a shock absorber is very nice. And I've gotten used to it in that respect. I've also started to sort of play with it backwards. It's just a different, there's not any clicks like there are up front. What do you have? You have one click back, and then a solid, smooth run until it clicks into place again. But it's a very light click that holds it in place. Just by turning my hand, gravity kind of makes it break loose. And that's almost the case when it's in the other direction. But it's a little bit stronger. But it didn't take much for it to trigger. It didn't take much pressure for it to trigger. Either way, I am having fun with this, regardless of the problems, but the problems are there, and if you buy one, you're going to have to deal with them. Now, somebody else that's a subscriber said, oh, I look forward to your review on the V2, because I still haven't reviewed, I don't think I have done a full review on this. I've talked about it from time to time, all the trouble I had with it from the time I got it, but it deserves its own review too, and I was going to do that next, but then I would have had two, because this one, even though it's a year old, when I do the review for this, I have to be honest about it, and it's going to be another advisory. So you got an advisory for the V4, and you'll have an advisory for the V2, because this was garbage when it came to me. And when you hear everything I had to do to get it to where I liked it, you'd be likely not to buy one of these either. And yet, for some reason, I've got a thing for Gal Studio stuff, and that they are doing pretty well. with some of their newer designs. So that's where we stand. I thought that was important to get to you, and I hope that you found it useful. I'm probably going to camp this weekend. I don't know if I'll do anything out there or not, but we'll see. It's Labor Day weekend, so I hope you all have a good, safe weekend. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye.